My name is Nathaniel Holmes. I'm a trainer at CSIS. Co-hosting with me today will be Kyron Pagulayan. As Marshall mentioned, we have other folks here from CSIS that can add information and content as we go through the training. So without further ado, this is CalPAD's end of year 1 reporting and certification. So the training is designed with a target audience in mind. Hopefully you are a data coordinator, specifically a CIS or Student Information System Data Coordinator. You're the one who's doing the daily input of information into CalPADS. It's also always beneficial for your administrator to attend or watch a recorded version of this session. It gives them an understanding of the data collected and kind of the scope of work that you're going to be asked to perform. Training is not just designed for a target audience, but also with specific objectives, right? And so we want to help you be able to identify the changes and the requirements needed to complete the end of year 1 submission. We want you to be able to prepare the data in your local system by knowing what you need and what you have to input in CalPADS and knowing where you need to look in your local system and what needs to be collected. We want to give you pointers on how to submit the data, both uploading the files, but primarily the challenges of navigating certification errors and reviewing reports. And ultimately, this is to help you certify by the end of year deadline. And so new this year, and we're introducing it as part of this training, and we hope for fall 1 to integrate more skill building or skill teaching. And so these 4 skills are among others, but they're skills that we will talk about or point to in this training. And these will help you be successful, not just for end of year 1, but as a data coordinator, right? And so we've titled them Coalition Building, Data Leadership, Project Management, and Critical Thinking. And I'm gonna try to go through this very quickly. It can be quite lengthy, and there's a detailed explanation on our YouTube site. So when we say coalition building, you have to be able to build a team. You have to be able to connect people and data across your ecosystem, right? Doing this, creating these relationships that you can rely on, ultimately will help your organization leverage data. And that, in a sense, allows you to make key decisions to benefit your students. Often when you're building your coalition, this will require communication and cooperation with yourself, but perhaps other LEAs as students come and go in neighboring districts. But having that team, having those that you can lean on, even an understudy, so to speak, a backup in case you have to go out for an extended time, is really beneficial. You also have to have data leadership skills or become a data leader. Regardless of your position or your stature within your LEA, you have to be able to initiate and organize data, the meaning, the conferencing about data, pulling a subject matter expert into a meeting with another because all of their data is related. So when you think about end of year 1, you're going to have your CTE program directors, your CTE folks in with your curriculum people, right? Because they're going to be mapping pathways. And this is before you submit the data, right? This is going into next year. These are the kind of activities that successful LEAs kind of engage in. We need to identify CCIs, the courses that are providing CCIs, and then the students enrolled, because that information is needed for the California School Dashboard. So you have to, take the bull by the horns and kind of initiate a lot of the communication, because you're in a unique position where you can see all the data and how it's related as it's coming into CalPADS. As you see the reports, you can see the nuances of the data collection and understand how it's used. And so part of being a data leader is developing project management skills. Because you're asking for coworkers' time, or maybe you have to go to your administration, you have to figure out a calendar and a schedule of when to collect the data and when to get information from people and when to provide it. So it's going into the summer. Many of us would like to take vacation. Our own kids are getting out of school. We want to enjoy the time with them. They're not all going to be available to you. and you have your life that you want to contend with, right? You're managing competing priorities. And so, you have the best LEAs, the most successful and the routinely consistent LEAs are not dictated by the CalPAD's deadlines, right? They have their own internal calendar and schedule, and they're working with that. And so being a project manager, knowing where the resources are, understanding that where the calendar is, being able to plan and forecast, regardless of the CalPAD's timeline, is in your best interest. So we'll speak to that a little bit. And then critical thinking, that's the baseline for success in CalPADs. You have to be able to problem solve both within the data, but also outside of the data, within your organization. You're going to need soft skills. You're going to have to think your way through situations and how you present information, because ultimately, just like end of year 3, you have to get discipline data from your MPS schools, right? It's required of you as the LEA to report the data for your MPS students. MPS schools may or may not know that. They may or may not be willing and ready. So you have to be able to negotiate that, right? You have to find a way. And we provide tools in which you can help and ease that communication. You have to know how to apply it, just like resolving fatal errors or avoiding them in the first place. You have to be able to see the data, think through it, right? And we can provide you a methods that help with this to kind of get you on the way, show you where there are resources, but ultimately you have to attack CalPADs with the analytical mind and go forward. So that's as quick as I can get through this slide, but thank you. All right, here's our agenda for today. We'll begin with the overview. Kyron will take over, present the overview. Then we'll talk about the data collected. I'll jump back in and talk about some aspects, and then Kyron will others. Then we'll review the certification process and the significant certification error. We'll always review the reports, talk about the nuances of the reports and the relevancy, and then we'll conclude today's training with a wrap up. This training consistently takes about 2 hours.